Hello, and welcome to the Your Food Matters podcast. I am Dr. Sue Kleiner. I'm here with my wonderful friend and colleague, Erik Bustillo.
Hello, everybody. Hey, Sue.
Hey, Erik, so good to be here with you today. If you're listening and you enjoy our podcast, please share it with your friends. We are on all the podcast platforms. You can also listen to us as well as see us on the Move Nutrition Network channel on YouTube. So it's really fun to see us make funny faces and play kind of a- across the nation from Seattle to Miami with each other. And so I'm so glad that you're all here today because we want to talk about how to live a long, healthy life, all about longevity. What do you think, Erik?
Yeah, I think longevity is it's become quite popular and perhaps trendy to kind of talk about now. Seeing a lot of people kind of focusing on it, and I think it's always been important. Um, Maybe somewhere along the lines we lost focus or lost sight of the things that are important for us to continue doing to have that longevity. And especially like in our culture, right? In Western culture, the focus oftentimes, not that there's anything wrong with it, right? To each their own, but it's kind of like just work, work and
Everything is
very,
work, right? Even like
everything is
your
work.
what should be fun is work.
Yeah. And there's perhaps an over focus on like money, right? And making money, and I don't think we ever really stop and think about why. Um, yeah, it's nice. A nice car is nice, right? But like the Toyota Camry can get the job done too. You don't need the Ferrari. But I could appreciate nice things. I get that. But it's just this shift of our focus. So, and I share that thought process in particular because if I were to ask someone, how would you define success? I think immediately people think of or have a tendency to think of financial success. Um, and I've been of the thought process that it's not 100% dependent on financial, you know?
Right, right.
I,
Financial or career, right.
yeah. So, and the reason that I think about that example in particular when it comes to longevity, I've worked with, God, I don't even know how many people I've worked with throughout the years. And there have been multiple times when individuals were very financially successful. And when I say financially successful, I mean, there was even a particular individual that was in the billionaire club. Um, but it was kind of sad to see also because their health just wasn't really there. They needed like
Hmm.
24/7 care. And
Wow.
then it just kind of makes you wonder about like what's the relationship like with their partner, right? With their spouse. Um, how much joy and enjoyment can this person truly experience? So perhaps they did great things when it comes to professional and financial, but the health component wasn't really there. Um, so I like to ask people, how would you define longevity? Because the way that I would oftentimes define longevity is living as well as we can for as long as we can, the functional
For
years
sure.
in there.
Yeah. I think
Uh,
independence is really a very big part of feeling like you're living a happy life, although it changes as you age, as I have aged, being able to ask for help. And so that means that you're surrounded by people who care about you and love you and can come to your aid when needed, also still affords, I think, a high quality of life. So as we age and go through each decade, I think our vision of what really constitutes a successful independent life changes. But yeah, totally. Whatever we define as high quality is, or at least good quality, for as long as possible, to me, is successful longevity for sure.
Most definitely, right? Because I mean, just think about the ADLs, right? The activities of daily living, um, and being able to do things on our own. And a lot of times when I'm giving workshops or just talking to somebody one on one, I like to make people think. Like I ask them, what do you think is important as we age? Um, and the main thing that I always kind of go back to is supporting muscle mass. Because I like to ask people, what do you use your muscles for? I think about when you're getting up from the toilet, and just anything that involves movement. I want to be able to wipe my own butt when I'm 102 years old.
My dad used to say, I want to be able to shave myself, but that's not an issue for you.
Just let this thing grow. Just leave this. Um, but there's just so many things for us to kind of consider.
I know. So and it's interesting. I mean, the topic of longevity certainly is a buzzword on the internet, right? And in social media, and influencers are hawking all kinds of stuff, claiming that it's the longevity miracle drug or supplement or hack or whatever. There
All
really
the
is,
terms.
right? There really is
Yeah.
good. There really is some good research that has spanned many decades that is giving us the kind of information that is not only about longevity, but it's about how you feel right now too, how you get through each day. And as you get through each day feeling better, you extend the time that you live on this planet feeling better. And so it's not a guarantee. Sometimes we can't impact our genetics. No matter what somebody's trying to sell you, you cannot impact your genetics of what is pre-programmed. However, what we do know is that the things that we do, the things that we consume, the places that we live, the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, all of those things can turn on or turn off genetics, meaning it's a term called epigenetics, where it can influence the switches that turn on or turn off our genetic coding to become ill or to deteriorate or to have degenerative diseases. We can impact that risk. We can't take it away, but we can influence it. And so those are the key factors that we want to talk about today. What are the things that we understand can decrease your risk of losing your health and independence as you age? And what are the things that can promote wellness and better health and enhanced function?
Yeah, exactly. The epigenetic topic is fascinating. Um, and I heard this quote one time, and it was genetics load the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger, something along those
Oh,
lines.
that's a good one.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And I also like to, I heard this joke one time, and I've used it ever since to kind of give people perspective on disease and lifestyle. Two people were talking. One person says to the other, man, I'm concerned because diabetes runs in my family. And the other person looks at them and says, man, it's because no one runs in your family. Um, and that kind of it helps people just see a lighthearted-ish way
Right,
of kind of
right,
understanding how important
right,
lifestyle is.
right. So today we're kind of going to run down a list for you and give some highlights in different categories. I'm going to let Erik start and then I'll chime in.
Yeah, so a few things that I wanted to mention first from my list that I'm going to pull up right here. The first thing on my list is lifting weights, supporting our muscle mass. The fact that we are at risk of losing muscle mass as we age, right? There's this natural muscle loss through aging called sarcopenia. Um, and when studies show that we're at risk of losing somewhere along the lines of 8% of our muscle mass every decade, that's kind of scary, right? It's scary when we think about why muscle mass is important, from supporting our skeletal structure, right?
Right,
So giving
sure.
us something to sit upright, And like
Get
you had
up,
mentioned
stand up,
in
walk around.
exactly all of those things, be able to move. And even when we're sitting, right? People don't think about this, but I'm just like, even if you're slouching, something has to hold your neck up. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
Um, and I just think that it's so important to be able to support muscle mass. And it's, I know that some people are maybe averse to lifting weights. But I almost feel like telling people it's like, we have to find something that we enjoy that involves resistance training, and maybe sometimes forcing ourselves to learn to like something like that, or maybe even looking at it from a different perspective, because maybe someone likes to play pickleball, let's just say. Well, if you're trying to play pickleball on a regular basis and for as long as possible, think of the resistance training that maybe you absolutely don't like, but think of it as one of those things that you're going to do to help improve your pickleball skills and longevity and that sort of
Right,
thing,
right.
right?
Well, in the lifting, again, for women in particular, but at men as they age as well, if you can't hang on to your muscle, you won't hang on to your bones. No amount of calcium is going to help you build your bones if you don't have enough muscle to put stress on your bones so that they are maintained. And when you fall and break a hip, once you hit something like 65, the risk of death within the first year of breaking a hip is very high.
Yeah, it skyrockets.
So it's not some little thing. It's not something that's not going to affect the rest of your life. It's not, well, if I break a hip, they can put a new one in. Like we think, well, if I don't control my diabetes, I can take a pill or I can take insulin and I can keep living and everything's fine. Well, first of all, wow, lots of side effects, lots of body damage from those high blood sugar levels. Same thing with a broken hip. Yes, they can repair the hip, but you might not live to enjoy that hip. So, really big deal. And I know this sounds a little harsh, uh, but these are the facts.
Yeah, for sure. Not sugarcoating it here, right?
Right.
That would only
We
support
really
diabetes.
want you out. We really want you out lifting. The reason I was a few minutes late today is because I was at the gym lifting.
Exactly. And I'll be going to the gym afterwards. And it's there's this thing, I have a little bit of a struggle sometimes, because it's like um I mean, I've always gotten along with older individuals very well, older than me individuals. When I was a little kid, even like being cool with like my grandparents' friends was like a normal thing for
Right,
me.
right,
Um and it's always interesting to hear people, the things that they'll say to me, right? And I've heard it all my life. Oh, it's because you're 18. Got it. Okay, understood. That's why you're so fit. That's why you have
right.
a six pack, or whatever people will say, right? Wait until you're, I don't know, 20 something. Let's just say 25. Cool. Turn 25. Nothing changed because I stayed consistent with all
Right,
my stuff.
right.
Consistency is probably the most important thing here. Wait until you hit 30. People talk about the age 30 like if it's all downhill from there. And I'm just like, really? Like, I felt absolutely nothing different when I turned 30. A lot of this stuff is mindset too, which is on my list also. People are like, wait until you hit 35. There's always this like wait until, wait until, wait until. It's almost like there's a societal expectation. But turn 35, still feel great. Still by some people's standards, still look great, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? It's all relative. So I also don't seek people's approval in that sense, but it's like we need to stop putting this societal cap on something and
Hmm.
limiting our beliefs of that we can be strong going
Right,
into older age past
right.
25. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So lifting super important. Again, we talk about this all the time. So you've heard it. It's on the top. It's one of the priorities amongst several. And then of course keeping your heart and your lungs strong, whatever you do to do that, there's multiple ways. And, do you get out and walk? There was just a study that said, if you're at work, if you're sedentary and you don't do any kind of real cardiovascular exercise, you can stay healthier for many years if you every 30 minutes get up for 5 minutes and walk. Every 30 minutes, get up for 5 minutes and walk. Now, I would really rather go have fun doing something that pumps my heart for some extended period of time than every 30 minutes get up and like walk around. That would drive me crazy. But to each their own, as Erik always says. And so setting a timer, getting up, go to the bathroom, whatever you do, keep yourself moving. Really, really important. Okay, next.
Now, going off of what you just said, on my list, I actually have jump, jog, speed, and agility and play. Right? So all forms of movement.
Right. I just got a
Right?
jump rope.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. So I never could jump rope other than the way I learned as a little girl, which is big jump, little jump, then big jump, little, that like a double
Yeah.
jump.
Uh huh.
I never could just do jump, 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 jump. I have just this year learned to do that. And it is so much fun. And I am so proud of it. It sounds dumb, right? But
Not at all.
now I went out, I got myself a really good jump rope, and you say, okay, in the middle of my day, but here we are, exercise science and sports dietitians. And what do? We sit at the computer and we create plans, or we're standing and talking to people or whatever. How physical is our day compared to our clients who they use their bodies as their vessel to make money, right? They are athletes. So I do keep my jump rope. It's not nearby here. It must be upstairs. And I stop for 5 minutes and I do jump rope periodically. So just because it's so fun now, it's like, oh boy, I can do this single jump.
I love that. And it's like in a video game. It's like new move unlocked. Like you
Right,
unlock the
right,
jump rope.
right,
You
right,
know?
right,
It's so cool.
right. So
Uh,
yeah, I think that play part, finding movement that you have fun with, that you enjoy, also that you do with community, because community is also on our list, right?
yeah, that's a big part of it, right? And the community aspect of it, to me, because I have on my list, I have laugh, and play falls into the community as well as the physical. I have optimistic mindset and I have talk, right? So playing with people, right? Like playing your sport, that whatever you might like, or even playing dominoes, which
Right.
is not physical, but there's a community aspect to it. Laughing is so laughing is just so good. Like you just feel so good. Like I watch videos of my niece, and it's like just little things like her little laugh and her smile. And it's just like it's so innocent. It's just so lovely. It's like it puts a smile on my face, and then I feel so good after.
There's this great commercial on for an electric vehicle. I don't remember what the brand is. And the guy has his little daughter in a car seat in the back. And
Yes.
when he turns on the car, it makes some kind of musical jingle from the just the automatic sound of turning on the car, and she laughs. So he keeps getting in and out of the car, turning it on and off and on and off, and you hear her laughing over and over and over again. And then you see his wife looking out the window like, "What are you doing? What's the matter with you getting in and out of the car?" And it's all about him getting this little baby girl to laugh like she does. It's a great commercial.
Yeah, and it drives the point home that something like laughter is so good, and doing it with others is good. Because I mean, I can laugh by myself if I see something funny, but when it's together, like if it's with like my family, like my partner, friends, or whatever it might be,
Right.
it's just so much better when you share the
Oh,
laughter.
totally, totally. So, and of course, we can't leave out the importance of what you eat and drink and consume. So, um, I have my highlights, and I know Erik has his. You all know I really push that whole grain thing. And because there is worldwide research that shows that people who eat more whole grains have less chronic disease. Period. End. Eating more whole grains is the number one thing, 3 servings a day. And it's for the fiber, which works as a prebiotic and helps our gut stay super healthy and keep the biome healthy, keeping the rest of our body, kind of well tuned. And it doesn't have to be gluten. So if you're gluten free, there are whole grains. You know what they are. 3 servings a day. Doesn't have to be bread, doesn't have to be pasta, doesn't have to be breakfast cereal. It can be the whole grain. So that's hugely important. And we know and we have data on that. Um, the other thing that gets talked about a lot, and again, access to food is a big deal. And we know that people of lower socioeconomic strata, there's problems with racial access because of race, because of where you live, what part of the world, what part of the country, what part of the city you live in, or rural. um, it impacts your health, well-being, access to medical care, food, and ultimately longevity. So when we talk about people who eat plant-rich diets, more produce, more fruits and vegetables, grains and beans, nuts and seeds, they live longer, healthier lives. Often I get asked the question, well, does it need to be organic? No, the data we don't have data on longevity and eating organic. What we have data on is that worldwide, regardless of how plants and produce are raised, people who have more plants in their diet, not exclusive, but eat, fruits and vegetables, grains and beans, nuts and seeds, they live healthier lives. And so the question of organic isn't part of this equation.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad that you said that because there seems to be a lot of confusion. We tend to there's that appeal to nature fallacy. So people think that organic means more natural or something along those lines, and it's not necessarily the case. And even from a macronutrient standpoint, there aren't major, if any, differences when it comes to organic versus non-organic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm definitely glad that you brought that up. Um, as far as the grains and all that goes, be careful with the carnivore guys. They might they might not like that.
Well,
But
I'm just saying this is where the data are.
for sure, no, without a doubt, without a doubt. No, and I'm with you. I'm a big fan of fiber and all of that stuff, and I just like taking shots at certain diets whenever I can. But all due respect to everyone.
Yeah, and certainly hydration. Clean water is a big deal. And
Mm.
so access to clean water really does matter. And so supporting programming around the world that allows and offers access to clean water is important. Hydration is a factor here, as well as enough protein in the diet. That's also very important. Abundance of protein, not necessarily, um, but but adequate protein, as far as data that we have on longevity, is quite important.
Yeah, and that's a big one for me. Protein is definitely on my list, as well as moderation. Be able to enjoy the things that you still enjoy, but just, moderation, maybe the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, we're controlling the controllables. 20% of the time, maybe leave it up to chance or
Right,
indulgence.
right.
Um, and the last one, especially as far as food is concerned, is variety for me. And maybe not changing up exactly what you're eating every day, but at least try to most days look for as much color as you can to ensure that you're getting a variety of nutrients.
It's like variety and moderation are the watchwords of good nutrition. I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't get any more holistic than that. I'm going to say also that alcohol is the concept of moderation in our country may be too high to promote longevity. Now, of course, we always hear about the guy who lived to 100 drinking and smoking. You hear about one guy, you don't hear about all the people that died. So
Yeah,
the
unfortunately.
outlier you hear
Uh,
about, but we are learning more and more and more about the negative effects of alcohol consumption in any appreciable amounts. We did a big podcast series on alcohol, and so we're not going to talk much more about that. Just go back and listen to those, because we really do give you amounts and data and risks based on gender, age, drink type, all of that. So just beware that when we're talking about diet, we include beverages, and and then Erik and I are really not about talking about what you can't eat next. And so what you hear us say, except for this little piece on alcohol, is pretty much what you should be doing. And our philosophy is, if you focus on what you need to eat, you don't have much room to think about what you can't eat next. And that's so much more of a positive outlook, which is a whole nother factor on longevity.
yeah, for sure, exactly. The optimistic mindset,
Right.
as I had written down on my list, because I mean, pessimism doesn't really get us too far. So if we seek to look for, if we seek the positive, it's only going to help us much more. Like this approach to
Right.
nutrition.
Right. And a very big one, it may be, sort of coming to the end of our list, but is huge because we really wanted to talk about it at the end, is sleep. So, um, we are learning more and more and more about sleep. People forget about sleep because of this big emphasis on diet and exercise. But I mean, sleep impacts all of this. Sleep actually impacts your diet and exercise choices. Sleep impacts your mental health. Um, and what more data are telling us is you can't outrun a bad night's sleep. So cardiovascular exercise, instead of sleeping, no, you need to get your sleep, and plan your days, prioritize your sleep. And if you are not able to sleep, and there, I think at most people, as we age or take on more responsibilities in life, stress increases in life. If we have financial problems, marital problems, career problems, health problems, fear for security, for sure, all of those things impact our ability to sleep well. And so, if you are not sleeping well, we can't emphasize enough that you seek help. Sometimes it's a side effect of medications that you're taking. If they make you sleepy during the day and you're not getting a good 7 hours at night minimum, then again, you need to go back to a physician or a healthcare provider and have a conversation about how you can improve sleep. There's all kinds of data about, if it takes you too long to fall asleep at night once you get into bed, what those numbers are. So, we're not going to go into all those details, except to say, when it comes to diet, as far as being registered dietitians, we do have some tips about about kinds of foods um, to watch for, what to eat, timing to eat in the evening before bed.
Yeah, those are all different sorts of things that can have an impact, right? And actually, I like that we ended with sleep, or are ending with sleep, because I think that this can be a good conversation for something on its own, as far as getting into like very nitty gritty details and information of sleep, because that really is like an episode all like in itself.
Oh, okay. You've teed up the next one, Erik. We're gonna leave them hanging.
Yep. I did want to end with this though. I wanted to mention, when it comes to longevity, I think it's important for us people in society to be a little bit patient with the information that comes out with it. People are going to wonder, sleep and longevity, or protein and longevity, or what kind of exercise, or zone 2, or sprinting. And it's just kind of like longevity data is pretty tough to come by. It's like it's tough to get it done as far as research is concerned. So we know some fundamental things, and we should try to stick with those. But there's always going to be some emerging data when it comes to longevity.
Oh, for sure. And again, there's not one magic bullet, one potion, one, ingredient that's really going to make a difference for you. It is a culmination of a lifetime of healthcare and wellness practices, of, as Erik said, nutrition, exercise, movement, surrounding yourself with community, hopefully with a loving community and caring community around you, continuing to learn, keep your mind sharp, positive attitude, interest and curiosity, all of those things, along with a good night's sleep, when you can. If those are things that are not in your control, then maybe those are the things to seek out, rather than what some influencer says on the internet, to buy, some ingredient that's going to extend the length of your telomeres. I can tell you, more than likely, there may be data in a lab, in a petri dish. We have no idea what it's going to do in your body, but we do know about all the things that we've talked about today.
Yep, exactly. Mic drop.
So thanks for tuning in. I hope you all go out and enjoy your day. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed our podcast, please tell your friends. And we really look forward to talking with you again. Take care, Erik.
Alrighty, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.